Well, hello everyone, I am Fracture, and this is Let's Play KotOR2, the Sith Lords, and we're just getting started. The previous video was the introduction of me setting up my character, and I also ran through the prologue, where the droid kind of rescues the damaged ship and gets it to this mining facility. So here we are in the mining facility. We've just basically exited a KotOR tank, and we look like we're in pretty good shape here, so let me just check my inventory. Where is it? I'm just trying to figure out which character I chose. There we are, Jedi Consular. So apparently the more difficult character to play earlier in the game. Probably for this reason alone, my strength is very low. But I'm hoping the benefit pays off later in the game. But let's get started. So we're pretty much trapped in this room. Not a lot of choices, so let's go ahead. Okay, so no go there. And with any game like this, of course, every container you see you loot. One of the nice things about this game is there is no inventory limit, so you can end up carrying tons and tons of stuff around with you. And in my case, if you watched any of my Let's Plays, you know I'm a pack rat. I don't even use potions and stuff. Well, this game really doesn't have potions, but for some reason, I don't know, it's been like this since I started gaming years and years ago. I tend to keep stuff rather than use it, so I'll sit there and suffer and be poisoned, and I don't like to use one of my cures. But you'll just have to get used to that. That's the way I've always played, and I always end these games with like huge inventories filled with thousands of med packs and that sort of thing, but oh well. I'm hardly going to change now. Alright, so this is the Paragus Medical Bay console, and we appear to be in emergency lockdown. So let's take a look at some of these logs.
Still examining the survivors of the damaged freighter. Looks like it goes by the name of the Ebon Hawk. Only one survivor, placed in the KotOR tank for recovery. The carbon scoring on the vessel suggests it was in a battle, but no indication of who fired on it. Couldn't get much from the Nava computer. I'm surprised the ship was able to make it inside the Paragus asteroid field without the asteroid drift charts. Aside from the lone survivor, we recovered an old woman. No life signs. There was also a protocol droid and a utility droid on board. Sent both down to maintenance while security sorts through the other items on the ship. It looks like the utility droid, a T3 unit, was able to get the ship working enough to get to the colony. We're prepared to...
Okay, and I should mention something here. At the end of the last video, I cut it off where I was standing at sort of the navigation computer. Actually, when you choose to navigate to the planet, there's one cutscene that shows an HK-50 droid coming out from that cargo area where we heard the knocking. So the door opens and it's actually on fire in there. And walking through the fire, much like Terminator, is an HK-50 droid. So, that's what she was referring to as the protocol droid, was that HK-50, which anybody that's played KotOR1 knows is far from a protocol droid, but let's go ahead on with these logs.
Could be a Jedi, but we won't know for sure until we get the transmission back from the Republic. If the survivor is a Jedi, that would account for the recovery rate. But I'm more concerned that a Jedi here may cause trouble. Some of the miners, especially KotOR, are already another accident today. A detonation in the ventilation tunnels. If the lockdown measures hadn't activated, the whole facility would have been destroyed. Got most of the injured to the KotOR tanks in time, but the rest had to go to the morgue. One of the wounded said a droid caused the accident, but we couldn't get any specifics.
Okay, that's not good.
Miners about the Jedi. A number of the droids have been acting oddly, and not even memory wipes seem to be fixing the problem. There was a detonation in another one of the fuel vents the droids were working in. We deactivated several of them, and moved them down to maintenance. But we're still treating the plasma burns. That cuts us down to almost half shifts, and with the droids malfunctioning, we may not make the Telos shipment for this month. Fortunately, the detonation didn't cause a lockdown.
Warning. There has been a fuel detonation in the mining tunnels. Emergency lockdown commencing. All personnel report to quarters and prepare for emergency venting countermeasures.
No! If the ventilation systems are malfunctioning, evacuate the medical bay! Everyone evacuate!
Okay, so it sounds like there's some serious issues going on, coinciding with our arrival. That's never a good sign. So we can, let's see. I'm just looking down here if I have any spikes. I've got repair parts, so it looks like that stuff I picked up during the prologue actually carried over. Oh no, that's my repair skill. I don't have any spikes or repair parts. And you'll see the reason I was checking just now. Okay, so let's check the life signs. And unfortunately, those other people in the KotOR2 tanks with me are all dead. I'm assuming I was patient 3, as I've recovered. Check the last treatment request, and this is, when you see this, it means one of my skills is giving me this line item, otherwise I wouldn't even see this option. But since I have trade injury, it's going to let me check. A lethal dose of sedatives was administered to all of the tanks, including number 3. There's no record of who ordered the treatment. Now you can see I can attempt to track the treatment request if I had 1 computer spike, which I don't have, so I can't do that. But I can open the medical storage room, which is the room behind me. And it looks like opening the morgue doesn't cost anything either. Where are we? Yeah, unlock the door to the morgue. So there we go. These, I think I said this in the KotOR2 discussion, but these containers I always got kind of a kick out of, because if you look at the way the lid opens, the lid takes up about 25% of the volume of the container when it opens. So I find that kind of poor design. If the lid opened upwards, then you wouldn't have to leave the container, 1/4 empty just so you get the lid open. But am I nitpicking? Yeah, well, I do that. So there's the old lady that we saw in the sort of tutorial. No sign of what killed her. Well, I don't know. And a corpse with a plasma torch. Ah, not so dead as she first appeared. Oops, she hit her eye. She's evil. International sign of evilness.
Find what you're looking for amongst the dead.
Yeah, let's just play your voice. I heard it as I floated in the KotOR2 tank.
Yes, I had hoped as much. I slept here too long and could not awaken. It may be I reached out unconsciously, and your mind must have been a willing one. Or perhaps you have been trained for such things.
She was the one that said, "Awaken," at the beginning there. Just stay out of my mind in the future. I'm going to be good light side. If you haven't figured that out, I'm going to be the good character, so I'll be choosing all of the sort of lame options. I have played this through as a dark side character, but I find it really difficult to play games like that. I'm too sympathetic, I think. I find it uncomfortable to, like, send the starving mother and her child to their death just for kicks, so I tend to play the light side characters in these games. So we'll just play like we knew she was alive all along here. So you can touch minds and feign death. Who are you?
I am Kreia, and I am your rescuer, as you are mine. Tell me, do you recall what happened?
The last thing I remember, I was on board a Republic ship, the Harbinger. What happened to it?
Your ship was attacked. You were the only survivor. A result of your Jedi training, no doubt.
Actually, that's interesting. So if the last thing I remember is being on the Harbinger, I was removed from the Harbinger and put on the Ebon Hawk. So up until this point I hadn't realized that. So I've never been conscious, or at least don't remember being conscious on the Ebon Hawk. A result of your Jedi training, no doubt. Okay, so she's somehow picked up that I'm a Jedi. And we actually get to kind of choose that, I guess, because I've got options here to both say that I am and I'm not. Let's choose the middle one, I guess, when in doubt. Choose B. I am no longer a choose B again. I am no longer a member of the Jedi Order.
Your stance, your walk tells me you are a Jedi. Your walk is heavy. You carry something that weighs you down.
Yeah, it's the styling beard. The Order and I have a, take my glasses off, troubled history. That is no business of yours. Well, let's deal with the now. What is this place?
I do not know. I was removed from the events of the world as I slept. A survey of the surroundings may provide the answers we seek. The ship we arrived in, the Ebon Hawk, must still be in this place. We should recover it and leave.
We? Why do you think we're together in this?
We were attacked once, and I fear our attackers will not give up the hunt so easily. Without transport, weapons, and information, they will find us easy prey indeed.
True enough. And again, here are some additional conversation options we wouldn't have had unless we have a decent persuade skill or a decent awareness skill. Awareness is also the skill that lets you spot landmines and that sort of thing, whereas persuade is very specifically for conversations. You can actually get people to do things that they may not have done otherwise. Are you sure there's nothing else you can tell me about this place?
Even as I slept, I felt much unrest here. I saw strange visions, minds colored with fear. Now, everything here feels terribly silent. A last word of caution. I would find out as much as you can about this place quickly. I fear we will need to depart as suddenly as we arrived.
Okay. So do we play nice with her, or do we, let's see, I'll go look for our ship and some weapons.
You may wish to extend your search to some clothes, if only for proper first impressions.
She made a funny. The patients in Medbay were killed by a lethal dose of sedatives. Any idea how it happened? And of course, if you choose to persuade or intimidate, these tend to be the darker side options. The same going if you use your persuade skill. It's usually not dark side, but there's a more powerful version of that. Force persuade or force intimidate, where you're, they can tend to be dark side as well. So let's just go persuade.
I do not know. Why did they spare you?
So, and then you know, it said success there meant that my persuade skill actually worked. Oh yeah, why did they spare me from the poisoning of the other people in the KotOR2 tank is what she's talking about now. Well, they didn't. I got the same dose but survived. That was an overdose of sedatives.
Indeed, a Jedi trance could protect one from such poisons. In fact, the sedatives may have been intended to keep you unconscious for some time. It would prove lethal to those untrained in such techniques, however. Most curious.
Ah, so somebody may have known I was a Jedi, and knowing that I'd be the only one to survive the overdose of sedatives is what she's saying. That's an interesting approach. Well, you seem to know a lot about Jedi techniques.
And so do you. Perhaps we could discuss it at length later on. Now we have other concerns, among them finding our new enemy.
Yeah, let's play nice here. I'll return to you soon to make sure you're all right.
I leave you to the explorations of this place. Here I will remain and attempt to center myself.
And of course, light side points. Now, I can't remember, I know the light and dark side point, the gaining them is a little bit lopsided. And I can't remember lopsided in which way. I think it's much easier to become light side, and it takes a lot of work to become dark side. So you have to do a lot more dark things to get all the way in the dark side. It's still quite easy through the game, and it's very obvious, you know, helping, like I said, the mother and her starving child versus sending them to their death. They tend to be pretty clear-cut options like that. Almost always. Occasionally you'll be shocked that you get dark side points or vice versa. And that really bothers me, and I tend to reload when that happens, but anyway, so there we go. So here we go, we have a damaged door we can bash, and lucky for us, we got a plasma torch, and really the only value to this thing, it does serve as a weapon, but it's a really good bashing weapon, as you'll see here. The bashing mechanic's kind of amusing, because you can sit here with a sword and keep missing, so you're standing a foot from a gigantic door, like they say. You couldn't hit the broadside of a barn from the inside. But anyway, this plasma torch seems to always work, or almost always. Okay, so there's our first sword, and And we can see an interesting mechanic here. We actually have two different sets of weapons, which is nice. We can swap back and forward. And that comes in very handy. Mostly in the early game, because you're swapping between having to open doors and fight droids and things. So here's our first fight, and it doesn't have to pause like this. You can sort of do it real time, but I've set it up so that as soon as I spot an enemy, I pause. And here's some of the skills that we had. We were talking about flurries and stuff in the intro video, and that's where you choose those. You can see I have various types of attack. When I build my character, I tend to work towards using flurry almost constantly. Flurry is an additional attack per round, plus you can use force skills and force power-ups to add more and more attacks per round. And near the end of the game, it gets hilarious, because I think you get like 8 or 9 attacks per round. It's pretty funny. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'll let you figure out how the attack mechanic works precisely as we go here. As our inventory fills up, we'll get other options, like we can use mines, various types of shields. You can see I've got various stances, but this is more for the uncontrolled character. So when you have multiple people on your team, and I'm pointing here is because other team members show up here as icons, you can set them to be aggressive or ranged or what have you, so you can tune the way they handle battles. My preference tends to be to just leave everybody in this aggressive stance. It doesn't work so badly that everybody dies at once. Somebody usually survives to the end of the fight. And of course, as you get further in the game and you get some of your Jedi skills, you have things like heals and whatnot, so it's pretty hard to not make it through a fight. So we picked up various droid parts, and they're used much like armor. Like in my character, I can choose various armor pieces and that sort of thing. Same thing, but droids need armor plating and various droid-specific components. That's what I've been picking up. So here, if I had a point in security skill, you actually get a little lock icon shows up here, and you can click on it and he'll hack the door if he's able. Of course, I don't have that, so we're just going to bash, and something broke there. No. Switch to get items, Get item, security tunneler if we need one.
Is this thing on? Alright, all hands, especially you, KotOR2, listen up, because I'm not gonna say this again. The next one of you Juma heads to try and smuggle a blaster, or so help me, any sort of military-grade frag weapons into my facility is gonna take a long walk out the airlock. Why? Because in case you forgot, Paragian fuel explodes at high temperatures. That's what blasted that chunk out of Paragus 2 and created this asteroid field. So if I catch any of you with anything other than sonic charges or mining lasers, I'll burn you and your contract. Security out.
So, and if you're wondering, those aren't the in-game movies I was talking about that I'm going to have to decide if I'm putting in or not. Those logs are actually done with the game engine, so Fraps records them just fine. So that's why we're seeing those.
And according to one of the miners, it was because one of the sonic charges went off prematurely. And like before, it was one set by a mining droid. The 3 idiots were grouped so close to the charge, it might as well have been a grenade going off. The blast turned their bones to dust. The blast wrecked the internal components of the droid that set the charge, though, so we can't even dissect it to see what happened. I don't like what's going on here. Ever since that Jedi showed up, things are getting worse. It's not just KotOR2 and his miners, or the fights, but now the droids are acting crazy. If we don't find what's causing this, or who, this facility's gonna be space dust by the time the next Telos freighter arrives.
Whom? Okay.
So, you're in maintenance. Then maybe you can tell me what's going on with these droids.
Sir, I don't know. It's like their behavior cores are undergoing binary decay, but I can't find the source. This shouldn't be happening.
Well, that's reassuring. It isn't happening. So the next time we nearly have a breach in the ventilation tunnels, I can just close my eyes and pretend it's my imagination. You better give me some answers. I want to know the damage these droids can do if they start mining us instead of asteroid rock.
Sir, these droids aren't combat models. Their mining lasers are weaker and less accurate than blasters. I doubt those droids could even hit one of us.
Are you blind? What about the miners in medbay? It's sabotage, and it started right after the commander said we weren't going to sell the Jedi to the exchange. So I want you to find out how these droids are being sabotaged. That'll tell me who's trying to clear a path to get that Jedi off the facility, and stop him. In the meantime, make sure the security's armed with all the ion and sonic charges you can find. If those droids start coming after me, I'm gonna need more than low-grade mining lasers to take them down. Clear?
Yes, sir. Maintenance control out.
Idiot.
So I don't know if you've noticed so far, but the voice acting in this game is really quite good. I've got this far into other games, and just it sets your teeth on it. It's so bad, but yeah, this is pretty good. Even the sort of bit parts and stuff are quite well done.
I secured the stealth field generator inside one of the footlockers in the security storage room. If I have the specs right, the interface field should be effective against the droid's sensors. All I need to do is equip the belt, and some skill with stealth in order to use it. As long as I don't get too close to the droids, they shouldn't detect me. If any more droids start malfunctioning, the belt should buy me enough time to get to the override switch I set up in the communications blister console. I'd rather shut them down than destroy them. I want to find out how these droids are being sabotaged. Maybe even turn them against whoever's sabotaging them.
Well, that little soliloquy came dangerously close to breaking the third wall, but gave us a few less than subtle hints. And yeah, we can go through all these cameras. Oh, look, there's me. And looks like a battle to come. There's the communications blister holding cells. Ah, hello. Who may you be? Alright. So I guess we'll switch back.
Be careful. There is much energy in the room beyond, yet it stems from nothing that lives.
Kreia. What?
Can you not sense them? Reach out. Cast aside your sight. Cast aside what you see, and instead reach out with your perceptions. Ah, you can feel them. The droids you cannot perceive, but the small oscillations of energy, that you can feel, echoing outwards.
With Kreia's help, you have gained the passive precognition power. When this power is triggered, you should save your game. Well, that's not subtle at all. Okay, and my biggest gripe about this game, they use F4 for save and F5 for load, which F5 is save for every other game I have ever played. I can't think of one exception where if they use the function keys, it's always F5. And of course that means every time you go to save the game, you actually load your previous save. So luckily I have a reconfigurable keyboard, and I've put quick save on a separate key. Now, one of the things that is good in this game, if you're playing it, they tell you to do this, and I really suggest you take the option. Save often and in different slots. Anytime you're doing anything significant, go and make a proper save game, not just quick save. You can kind of set the path that you're following irretrievably, and if you discover too late that, oh, I didn't want to break my opportunities with such and such a character, if all you've been doing is quick save, you pretty much have to start the game over. So, and it's not as bad as that sounds, but if you're the type that changes your mind a lot, yes, save often, but you know, and that way you'd only have to go back, say, half an hour or something like that.
You hear it. It is faint, but it is there.
I feel strange, like the sedatives are wearing off.
It is the Force. You feel it has not been so long as for you to forget.
So we're building up a sort of an impression of who this character used to be based on these conversations. But it doesn't feel like it did. It feels like it's coming from across a great distance.
Do not turn away from it. Listen. Feel it echoing within you. Come. I shall guide you down the familiar paths. You will need it if we are to survive and escape this place.
Gaining experience will slowly re-establish your connection to the Force. Go to the level up screen and choose your Force abilities. So the reason that happened just there is because killing that one droid caused me to level up. So this is really very much like a D&D game where there's hidden dice rolls, and that's why you'll see sometimes you can fight something for quite a while and all you're doing is missing, because the dice rolls are just going in the enemy's favor. You know, they have a better dexterity than you do, so you're finding them very difficult to hit. And that can be a fairly frustrating early game for people not familiar with it. That, you know, I've been swinging my sword at this guy for 10 minutes and I haven't even taken a hit point off him. Welcome to D&D type games. So there we have a stealth field generator, which all stealth characters require to be wearing if they want to use their stealth skill. And let's go ahead and level up. There's actually a one reason not to level up immediately. It's a free heal after you level up, not before. So you can always use it as a freebie heal. You can wait until your health's quite low, and even during the middle of a battle, you can just decide to level up and it'll heal you. Doesn't restore your force points though. So I've gained automatically at this level Force Sensitive and Unarmed Specialist. This actually surprised me. I've played this many times, and the first time it sunk in that you can actually play this game through unarmed. And I tried it. I haven't finished it that way, but sure enough, unarmed is actually quite viable. The amount of damage you do is quite good, but the motion capture is not that great. It's kind of a boring way to go through the game, whereas, you know, with lightsabers they're just cool, and with swords and that sort of thing. So it is quite viable if you feel you want to go through as sort of the unarmed monk. Feel free. You're not gonna find yourself in difficulty if you do that. I've played enough of the game to see that it really does work. So I just grab those. Now, I'm not going to choose recommended because if you remember, so these are the force powers. This is the first time we've seen these. I was actually going to say something else, but this is a different screen than I was expecting. So we can now choose a force power. Usually what I do is I see what they say for recommended. Stun droid's actually a really good one for this phase in the game, so I think I'll actually go with what they recommend. Although it's not as effective as it sounds. You know, it's not perfect, but you can also set off landmines with that, which is kind of nice. Since I don't have a what do you call it, a demolition skill. That way I don't have to sneak around landmines. I can just from a distance kind of blow them up. But you'll see here, I mean, we've got healing options. This is a +2 bonus to defense for 20 seconds. It doesn't last very long. This is speed, and I mentioned earlier that you can get Jedi Force skills that increase the number of attacks per round. This is one of them. It actually, for recording a Let's Play, is kind of not the greatest skill because it blurs the screen whenever you're moving, and that doesn't record very well, but it's not going to stop me from using it. You'll just have to deal with that. But you can see when I power it up all the way, I get an additional 2 attacks per round, which is pretty incredible with everything else piled on top of it. So Force Valor. this is just another sort of saving throw thing, but the nice thing is it affects all party members. So one click and you give bonus to everybody in your party, which is nice. So this tends to be one of the earlier powers that I grab, just because it saves mouse clicks. We'll go over the red ones as well. Force resistance, of course, that boosts your ability to resist forces. If you're a light side character, particularly dark stuff like power, stun, and that sort of thing. Basically, this is a shield. Absorbs some points of energy damage, so phaser fire and that sort of thing. Again, another shield. Let's see what this one is. This is melee shield, basically. Battle meditation. I think this is for the whole team. This power grants +2 to attack rolls, +2 to damage, and +2 to will saves to all party members. So that's another good power. It also increases the vitality point regeneration rate of the party for 20 seconds, except for droids. So this lets you use your force power 50%, let's see, for 30 seconds, 50% of force requirements are taken from your health instead. I don't think I've ever selected that, but sounds like a good way to really boost your force points, and then just use medkits to recover them. So that's interesting. And it looks like the best it does is lasting 30 seconds and taking 30%. So that's pretty viable. Medkits are a dime a dozen in this game. You end up with stacks of them. So that would give you, for certain battles, a pretty much endless force powers. I mean, you just let yourself get injured. And, well, no, you're still using 30%, but you could really boost your force points. So your force power is still dropping. But you're basically tripling it just by using medkits. That's pretty cool. The other thing to notice is some of these are light side powers, some are dark side. A light side character can use dark side powers. There's just a penalty, and I think it's a considerable penalty, although there's ways to mitigate that somewhat. But I tend to go all light side powers, even though unfortunately the dark side powers are all the fun ones, like force push and lightning and that sort of stuff. Those are cool powers. But so this is basically Resurrect, and there's actually, I don't know if it's a bug, if it's a typo, I noticed this in my last playthrough. Here it says this is the low level Resurrect, brings a single closest fallen ally back to consciousness with 5% of their total vitality points. I think, that's the boost. This was also 5%, and I couldn't figure out why you'd bother upgrading, but this brings all allies back. So, all being 2. So, I don't know, that's not that great of a deal. And this one boosts that to 10% of your health. So they come back with 10% health. This, let's see, it's either this one or Persuade further down. What's a Jedi has this power? Yeah, this one I like. It gives you extra options in your conversations as appropriate. I tend to get this really early in the game just because I like this, and I think I might. Even at the loss of the droid stun. Just as a matter of course, I tend to grab this as early as possible, because that's the way I like to play. So now, deflect. Force deflection, why would you get this? This lets you deflect blaster bolts. There's another very similar skill that Jedis get, I think for free. If you're holding a lightsaber, you can deflect bolts. And if you're high enough in that skill, you actually can deflect the bolts back to the person that fired them. So injuring them basically with their own blaster fire. This skill actually lets you do that with any weapon equipped, or if you're playing with no weapons, you can still deflect blaster fire. So it's actually quite a good skill to get, even if you are using a lightsaber. Stun is what it sounds like. That's stunning humans. Stun droid, same thing. And these are basically the same for humans and droids all the way down. Then we get into the dark side powers. Wound, which is just, damage somebody, slow them. Fear, which is essentially a stun, because whenever somebody is feared, they grab their head and they just shake their head, and they can't do anything while they're under fear, so that's essentially duplicates stun. Of course, there's force lightning, and it's really impressive at full power. I mean, you can clear out whole rooms of people with 1 or 2 shots. It's almost game breaking because it's so powerful, but it never stops being fun. I mean, it's a riot using that. Then we have a universal power. These are either light or dark side is all that means. There's no penalty for light or dark side use. So, force push. It's actually better than it sounds, even at its lowest level. It pushes people off their feet, and it takes them a little while to get back on their feet, so they can't attack you for a couple of rounds. Then, of course, tornado. They get pulled off the ground and spun around. And then this basically, again, clears a whole room. Drain life. That actually drains it back to you, too, so you can heal yourself by draining life. Because you can't... heal is a light side, and this is the reverse. You can heal yourself here as well, but you have to heal by draining the life out of somebody else. Force suppression. It lets you cancel force effects, good and bad. Then we have throw lightsaber. I seem to remember that's not as good as it sounds. Drain force. Again, another dark side. That lets you fill up your force power at the cost of draining it from somebody else. Force shout. That's another type of a stun. And what's this? Mind trick. Yeah. Makes it easier to sneak by them. So it's not. These aren't the droids you're looking for. This is more like it increases your stealth skill, basically. What's this one? Sorry, getting a drink. Okay, this one you convince them to fight on your side for 30 seconds. Alright, so that could be quite useful. And it's a universal power, so we could take it. So they propose we take stun droid, which is probably a really good idea. In fact, yeah, let's. I'll take... no, I'm going to go with my regular, as dumb as it is. I'm going to take my force. Where's it gone now? There it is. Affect mind. I just love having extra conversation options. So, okay, so that took longer than I was thought, but we won't have to do that again at least. Alright, so we really got no useful power-ups in the way of being able to damage, so, and you can see already the one that they proposed that I take would already be useful because this room is full of droids, but so, and stun droid, what it does is it does no damage to them, or if it does, it's very minimal. But they basically, they don't fight for a period of time, 5 or 10 seconds or something like that. They just kind of collapse in a heap. So, you know, equivalent to a stun in a human, basically. There you go, I just missed twice. The thing is, yeah, and missed again. There we go. It's standing inches from me and I, you know, can't hit it with a sword. So you'll see here and there really obvious indications that I've played this many times. This is by no means, that was a lucky one, this is by no means a blind playthrough. So I'm hoping the volume is alright. It sounds okay in my headphones. It's a little bit too loud, but it's alright. I probably won't correct it for 3 or 4 videos though, because I'm just recording a pile. And I haven't really checked the audio, which is never a good thing, but okay. So, that security log told us to come over here. And this is the communications control, and since we watched that security log where the guy said he put a control override switch, we know to look for it. We found it, and we'll activate it. That lets us into the prison. And we got experience. So that door that just opened, it was this one.
Beyond this door, someone yet lives. Be mindful. His thoughts are difficult to read. But you have nothing to fear from this one, and he might yet prove useful.
All right.
Nice outfit. What, you miners change regulation uniform while I've been in here?
The facility's deserted. You have to be careful sometimes. I don't think I've ever missed out on a conversation, but you have to watch. Sometimes you can scroll down and get additional conversation options. They tend to be the dark side ones, though, right near the bottom. So, yeah, like this. I don't have time for this. Tell me what happened. So we'll just...
You mean before or after that Jedi showed up? Either way, it's a real short story. You see, this Jedi shows up, and you know what that means. Where there's one Jedi, the Republic will soon be crawling up your ion engine in no time. But the story gets better. See, some of the miners get it into their ferrocrete skulls that since the Jedi's unconscious, they can collect the bounty the exchange has posted for live Jedi. Well, what passes for the law here didn't like that idea. So the two groups started fighting.
Then there was some big explosion, and then I was sitting here for a long time, waiting for some half-naked miner to show up and ask a bunch of questions.
And just in case it was confusing the way I cut that off there, the conversation option I chose was, the facility is deserted. Do you know what's going on? There's a bounty on captured Jedi. Why?
Don't know much about it. Maybe the exchange wants one as a trophy, or somebody's got something against Jedi and is looking to collect. Not many Jedi left. Wouldn't surprise me if the bounty's pretty high.
Not many Jedi left. What happened to them?
The ones that weren't killed in the Jedi Civil War ended up switching off the lightsabers long ago. Word is there's not even a Jedi Council anymore, but who knows?
I'd heard rumors of a war, but a war between Jedi?
Yeah, Revan, Malak, and the Jedi that went to join them in the Mandalorian Wars. They turned against the other Jedi and had a scrap that almost laid waste to the galaxy. Where have you been?
Yeah, I probably should watch my own KotOR2 LP to try to get that history back in my head. I can't remember. I'm terrible for names, so I don't remember if Revan's the bad guy or Malak or anything like that. I know one of them was me in the previous game. The guy I'm playing now in this KotOR2 is not intended to be the same person that finished the previous game, though. It's not like Mass Effect where you're carrying the same character. I'm a different character entirely. I've heard a few rumors, but little else in my travels. I've been away since the Mandalorian Wars. Just tell me what happened. Well, I'm interested in hearing this. What happened between Revan and Malak?
Well, I wasn't there, but like all Sith, Revan and Malak turned on each other. After they turned on the Jedi, of course.
Okay, so am I confused? So they were both Sith, and they turned on the Jedi. Oh, okay, and he's saying the same thing. The rumors I heard said Revan defeated Malak and went to Korriban to unite the Sith. Now, see, that I must be confusing this, because if Revan was the character I played the good side, and I was led to believe that Revan saved the Jedi and the Republic. Yeah, that was me. Alright, so they're... since you can't load save games, they're having to do it through conversation. I'm so used to like Mass Effect where you just automatically everything is imported, but they're doing it through a conversation option here. It's kind of a neat way of doing it. So I was led to believe that Revan served the Jedi and the Republic.
I guess. There's rumors all over space about it. All I heard was Revan returned to pay Malak back for trying to kill her in the first place. You know, women.
No, man. How long have you been in that cage? Revan was a man, not a woman. So, yeah, I think I'm establishing how I played the previous game.
Maybe you're right. Maybe I just hoped Revan was a woman.
I had some more questions for you.
Look, no offense or anything, but your weird half-naked interrogation isn't my idea. Hey, wait a minute. You're that Jedi the miners were talking about. Where is everybody?
I don't know. The facility seems abandoned.
Well, the miners can't all be gone. But if they are... Look, hey, let me out and I can help you. I can. I've gotten out of trouble countless times.
That means you've gotten into trouble countless times, unfortunately. Oh, got a cough, excuse me, folks. Okay, I'm back. So, there's a persuade option I wouldn't have got unless I chose that force option that I did. Tell me your plan and we can go from there.
This facility isn't a military installation, which means we may have a chance. You shut down this cell security field and I can reroute the emergency system so we can get to the hangars. We grab a ship and then we fly out of here.
So again, we have the option persuade, tends to be either neutral or light side, and then persuade intimidate tends to be a little on the dark side. Not always, but tends to be dark side. One thing first, the patients in the medical bay were killed with a lethal dose of sedatives. You know anything about that?
Huh? What are you talking about?
So that's where that little success in brackets is helpful, because that answer could have been him lying or him telling the truth, and you know, because he, what are you talking about? He could be playing dumb or actually not know. Since they put success in brackets, you know that he's responding to your persuade, so it's very likely that he's telling the truth there. So, oh, nothing. I trust you. Let me get you out of that cage, and we can work together to get out of this mess.
Great. Now to business. Let's get to the command console.
So still, you can choose to be red. Well, I suppose red. You can choose to be the dark side here, even. Just stay ahead of me. Don't make any sudden moves. But we'll just cooperate right from the start. All right, let's get going.
All right, here we are. Now this console is set on automatic hail. You may have heard it when you came in. The asteroid drift charts are constantly being updated, so it sends out a transmission to incoming vessels so they don't get crushed into space dust. The hail warns them to keep their distance until orbital drift charts are transmitted, and then provides docking instructions to incoming ships, usually freighters. Thing is, you can bounce that same transmission back to the comm here, and suddenly you've got access to the communication system from the inside. Pure Bazak. The console's ours. Now, all we need to do is reactivate the turbo lifts, cancel the emergency lockdown, and... Hey!
What's wrong?
This system's been severed from the main hub, after it was locked down from remote. You can't even reroute the system, it's been cut clean.
That wouldn't be standard procedure in an emergency lockdown.
No. Someone tried to lock down this whole level tight, and leave us here. Trapped.
Is there anything else we can do with the console?
I doubt it. All we have is communications back. For all the good trying to shout in a vacuum will do us.
Can we contact the miners?
We could try. But if the miners were trying to trap you up here and probably kill you, why not call them and chat? I don't think a friendly call is going to wake them up.
Well, let's see. Maybe there's something logged in the terminal we can give us some answers.
My guest. Not much else we can do. The comm's all yours.
All right.
Tracted the freighter in. Was lucky it wasn't destroyed when it drifted into the asteroid field. Not much on board. One damaged droid, one annoying protocol droid, and a lot of bodies. Sent the survivor to medical and the others to the morgue. Didn't recognize the ship's ID code, so we transmitted it to the Republic for some answers. Questioned the protocol droid about what happened. Says his master, survivor, I guess, was on the Republic ship the Harbinger when it suffered an engine failure. He says the survivor was a passenger on the vessel and a Jedi. If so, that's gonna mean true.
Okay, so that explains how I got from the Harbinger onto the Ebon Hawk. The Harbinger was... sounds like it was under attack or something like that anyway, and I ended up on there.
Inventoried the bodies and cargo. Everything matches the protocol droid's story. The T3 droid had seized up, so we left it in storage and standby mode. Don't know what code will access it. It could be it's voice activated for all we know. We put the protocol droid to work in maintenance, sorting the mining droid comm routines and updating the recognition sensors. And to shut him up. When the survivor recovers, hopefully we can get him off this station before there's a...
So of course the protocol droid again that he's referring to is the HK-50 that was on the Ebon Hawk, locked in that chamber, that cargo hold thing.
Trouble between the work shifts.
Word of the Jedi leaked out and the miners aren't sure what to do with him. KotOR's mining crew wanted us to collect the credits for the bounty the Exchange has on Jedi, but I put a stop to that. We're contacting Telos to get the Republic records on the Jedi, but nobody will know word from the Republic. But I've sent out a broadcom transmission for records on this Ebon Hawk. One of the miners said it used to be a smuggling vessel. Accidents are making the miners restless. The droid behavior course must be undergoing some kind of binary decay. 2 miners were drilled by a droid's mining laser, and those blasts in the ventilation tunnels nearly caused the whole facility to blow.
Alright, so fun was had by all. Check the dormitories, no response. As you access Hangar Bay 25, there is a series of low-pitched whistles and beeps. It sounds as if there is a utility droid on the other end. Can you read me? I'm not going to read those out. Let's see. Do you do a diagnostic, then follow my instructions? That sounds a little curt. Or, are you operational? Let's see. We're trapped up on the administration level. Can you unlock the turbo lifts? That's kind of in the negative. Is there some other way out of here besides the turbo lifts? So apparently, I don't know exactly what he said. Of course, I don't speak bocce, moisture evaporator. I'd rather risk it than be trapped up here. So apparently I just told him to do something risky. And here we are. We're about to play droid for a while, but that will be the next video. So, as always, I thank you for watching and I thank you for listening. I encourage you to leave comments, suggestions, or infantile abuse. I promise I read it all. And if you like my videos, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give me the thumbs up. It really does help. And we will see you next time. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a good one.